This video is going to be a little different than my other videos. I'm not using a timer for this one. I really want to go in depth and I want to help you really get this. Because what you're going to get out of this video is a protocol that helps you overcompensate for your main weakness that leads to a chain reaction that ensures that you reach your goals if you just keep spamming it. And so this video is going to be a little bit more in depth, might be a little bit longer, and so I recommend getting a notebook and pen out and writing notes so that you remember these things a little bit better and a little easier. So go do that. I'll be here waiting for when you're done. All right, now that you got your pen, notebook, this video is on the gifted trait. For the longest time, I thought that this was just like some weird term that people threw around, but it is actually a real thing. It's actually another neurotype, just like ADHD or autism. And the reason it's relevant to you is because there is a high correlation between this gifted neurotype and ADHD, where it's like somebody can have this and still be quote unquote neurotypical, or they don't have ADHD, they don't have autism. But if you have ADHD or autism, you're much more likely to have this. And if you watch my content, there's honestly a high chance that you do. So what is this gifted neurotype? The way you can think about the gifted neurotype is that they basically have denser neurons in specific areas of their brain. And it's different for every single one. The person who is gifted might be gifted in one area, and then another person who has the same gifted neurotype would be gifted in another area. And really what it comes down to is that your brain has something different about its wiring where it's very good at learning. And it might even be like a small difference, like at the start. But what happens is that the gifted neurotype falls into this chain loop where, because learning is inherently more deep and rewarding for them, they get more dopamine out of it than a normal person would. And this creates a feedback loop where they their whole life have created obsessions and addictions to learning. But what really differentiates this is that this person has a very high pattern recognition, where they are able to see patterns, connect dots, and create these mental scaffolding and link things together unusually well. And it might just be in a specific area, it might just be in a specific domain. But in general, they're just kind of better at learning. They're better at pattern recognition. For some people it's reading, for some people it's math, for some people it's mechanics, but there is this underlying trait of kind of obsessive, kind of compulsive learning, and you're good at it. Now, I already know a lot of you might be thinking, like watching, like, do I have this? Like, you already perked up because this sounds like you. And so if you're wondering if you have this, there are a few traits that you can tell pretty easily. One is if you never had to study for tests. If you were the type of person who aced your tests and didn't do any of your homework and always got in trouble for that, you probably have this gifted neurotype. Or if you excelled really, really well in certain areas, but then completely tanked in other areas in school, you may have this gifted neurotype. Or if you in general think that you have a high pattern recognition and have a love for learning. For example, if you play a lot of puzzle games, maybe you play a lot of strategy games, maybe these are the things that naturally draw you in, then you could have this gifted neurotype. If you're a nerd, that's another one. If you're a huge nerd, if you love patterns and how things fit together and you just have this like want to understand everything, intense curiosity, and if this is something that's followed you your whole life, you may have this gifted neurotype. And I would honestly say that most people with ADHD have this. I think that actually more people with ADHD have this than don't have it. But a high volume of people with ADHD also have this gifted neurotype. And it can be really frustrating when you have both, because what this leads to is addiction to learning, and it can often feel like you're just hitting your head on a table your whole life because you feel smart and other people tell you you're smart, but you have literally nothing to show for it. And the reason why is because your ADHD symptoms and this gifted neurotype are interacting with each other in a very toxic way. The ADHD is basically making you bounce around too much, like your focus is completely scattered. You can't actually focus on anything long enough for something to happen. And the gifted neurotype and the ADHD together are making you really bored And when you're bored, you're not getting dopamine. And when you're not getting dopamine, dopamine is the doing chemical. You're not doing stuff because everything's too easy or too uninteresting. So you can think of this as almost worsening the pre-existing ADHD symptoms. And it's frustrating because you have this ability, like you can think and solve these complex problems. In fact, that's what it's optimized for. One of the trademarks of having ADHD is that your default mode network is hyperactive. And this is sort of like the daydreaming, like switching focus around, sort of aimless, wandering part of your mind. It spans your entire brain, but that's what it's for. And it's good for having ideas, creativity. When you have ADHD, this thing is possessive, where even when you try to engage the more executive parts of your brain, its influence sort of creeps in. It just doesn't stop talking. And this leads to shattered focus, where it's like your focus is in all these different directions. You're constantly breaking your focus. It can lead to inattention, where you're not really connected and like aware of what's going on. And it is definitely part of the forgetfulness. And the way I want you to think about this is when you have ADHD, you are basically in a constant state of creative ideation and brainstorming. And it kind of just never ends. And it actually creeps into everything that you do. And this is unhelpful, to say the least. And it sucks because you will have a million ideas and basically be unable to act on any of them because your brain just won't let you. And then the people in your life are looking at you like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Like, oh, you're supposed to be smart. You're gifted. Like, what's the deal? You're supposed to be doing stuff. Oh, he's lazy. He's unmotivated. He's not driven. He needs more discipline. And it's not true. But luckily for you, there is a way out. There is a strategy that will specifically work for you if you have ADHD in general, but especially if you have this gifted archetype, that will help you actually turn your ideas into reality. So I'm going to give you this chain reaction that you can spam to basically make a better life. And the way I want you to think about it is this is basically the most optimized way for you to exist. And if you thought that it was helpful, go ahead and like the video before you forget. So just a little recap, you have an overactive DMN, which is default mode network, and you have an underactive ECN, which stands for Executive Control Network. Now, part of your ECN is the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And this part of your brain is basically the CEO. Now, when you have ADHD, this guy's asleep. It's not that he's not there, and it's not that he's not powerful. Actually, in fact, I wouldn't even say he's asleep. He's active. It's just that the default mode network is possessive and always trying to drag him back to sleep is kind of how you can think about it. Your default mode network is overpowering your CEO. And this is great for being creative and maximizing for creative problem solving. That's what you're really good at if you have ADHD and this gifted ability, this high pattern recognition. You are basically primed and ready for really, really good creative problem solving. However, because this part of your brain is basically being possessed by your default mode network, you are really bad at execution. But there is a solution. Even while it's harder to engage with this guy, you already have one strength that helps you manage this problem, which is the creative problem solving. And while it's harder to engage, you can still strengthen this neural connection. And the way I want you to think about it is you're basically going to overcompensate this connection. And it's not going to take a lot of work. It's just going to take a little bit of intentionality. No discipline here, just aimed desire. So this dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is what we're going to try and engage and turn on in you on command, there's one part of your brain where if it lights up, this is also going to light up. And it's much easier to manage than this. And you wouldn't believe it, but it's actually tied to creative problem solving. And it's going to sound really simple and cheesy. It might even sound disappointing to you. But don't be disappointed, be excited, because it's actually really easy to engage with. And if you just use it in the right way, which I'm going to show you how, you will get a ton more out of your life. And your ideas will actually start to become reality. So what is this strat? This strat is basically to become more aware intentionally, but more specifically by engaging your ACC, which is also known as your anterior cingulate cortex. And the way I want you to think about this region of your brain is it's basically a fire alarm. It's like the bell that wakes up your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is like your brain's CEO. It's the strategy and action part of your brain. But this ACC, the way that you wake it up, like the actual neurobiological way that you wake it up, it's really simple. You just observe your thoughts. That's it. You just level up your awareness of what's going on in your head and in your mind and in your body. And the interesting thing about this is it's actually also how you get more self-control. You see, we have a perception that self-control is about effort, but that's just because of an association that we have pretty much in every culture that isn't true. We think that it takes more cognitive effort, but actually all it takes is your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to wake up. When it's woken up, doing hard stuff doesn't feel like effort. It feels like natural. And so we just need to spam the button that wakes it up. And that button is just awareness. And more specifically, it's recognizing discrepancies and cost evaluation. Those two things in specific. So if you are monitoring your thoughts and you are looking at the costs, let's say you have two options. Let's say you can either hop on the game or do your homework. And the homework is boring, it's super easy, it's just boring. But the game is stimulating, it's like Space Engineers or something. Notice how both of these create cognitive stress. They create problem-solving stress. You're just extremely bored with the homework. But let's say that you're gonna do your homework and you're thinking about hopping on the game instead and telling yourself, oh, just 1 minute. If you just stop in that moment and just become more aware and use no effort, just become more aware and evaluate the cost. Just evaluate the cost. The game is going to bring me nowhere. It's going to deplete my dopamine. It's going to create dopamine inflation in my system. And then I'm going to wind up not doing more. I'm going to feel like crap later. I'm going to become overstimulated and it's going to suck. And then I'm going to still stay there and it's going to tank my awareness, which is going to hurt this whole system, which is going to snowball into me not getting the life that I want. Or I could just take like the 5 minutes to do the boring homework assignment. That is super easy for you because you have this gifted trait. And so just sitting there and evaluating the cost, it will engage your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And that will basically send the signal that says, do the homework. That's it. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to become more aware. That woke up your ACC woke up your CEO, and then your CEO kicked into action. And a neurotypical has a more healthy like ping pong of these different networks in their mind. But because your default mode network is possessive, if you are not intentional about this, your CEO won't wake up. And guess what? Your CEO is going to fall back asleep while you're trying to do the work. That's just bound to happen. So that's not actually the strat here. That's step one for the chain reaction. Just becoming more aware, observing your thoughts. This is a muscle that you can work. The best way to work it out and to make it stronger is to meditate. And a lot of you may have tried meditation and not seen results, but meditation, just like anything else, is a skill where you have to sit with it for a while before you get the results. But I'm not even going to go into meditation. That's another video. You don't actually need it for this to work. It's just a very optimized thing for your neurotype to be doing. So you woke up your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. The CEO is awake. The strategist and the executor, it's awake. And this is where it gets highly optimized. Just becoming more aware wakes this guy up. Once he's up, you can tap into your creative problem-solving ability. In fact, it's ideal to have already solved the problem before this, but the solution I want to give you is basically, instead of working on the thing, work on the thing that creates consistency for the thing. Instead of working on the homework, work on the system that ensures the homework gets done regularly. And you can stress your creative problem-solving muscles and wake up the CEO to actually work on this thing, because you know that it's going to go back to sleep. It's going to go back to sleep. And so if you're constantly turning this thing on just to work on the homework, you're bound to not get too far. But if you instead focus on the thing that's going to ensure that the homework gets done every single time, which what this would actually probably look like is a checklist, a workstation that has pens that are like tied to the desk so that you can't lose them, an organizational system for the homework so that you're not losing it before you turn it in. And the thing about checklists is every little thing on a checklist is a dopamine hit. And when you have ADHD, you don't form habits, you form addictions. The part of your brainstem that helps you to form habits is like busted. Another thing you can do is to solve this problem even further is add rewards, add XP, do something. But instead of working on the homework, work on the thing that ensures that the homework will get done every single time. And apply this to any other problem in your life. Don't work on the thing, work on the thing that makes the thing get done consistently, because you're not consistent. Your default mode network will possess you, but that's fine if you're hyper-focused and on a dopamine daisy chain that leads to success. because the power of this is stronger than your will. And so the way I want you to think about this is stop doing stuff. Make things that do things for you, whether this be a system, an automation, a game, which is also a system, hiring someone, convincing someone. Just figure out a way where your brain doesn't have to do so much heavy lifting. Delegate it. Make a system, make an automation, make it partially automated. And if you do this consistently, what will happen is you'll start to build a life. And then you have to think of this in terms of your life too, where your entire life needs to be this system slash automation slash thing that you're building. It's a thing that you're building. It's a problem that you're solving instead of actually doing the thing. And your brain is optimized for this. Like, you're really good at it already. Now, the problem is that this takes work. But I'm telling you, it's more optimized to do this instead of working on the thing that you're trying to work on. For the example of homework, let's say it's a math worksheet. You could make a system where for every problem that you do, you get an M&M. And there's something I forgot to mention about the ACC, is that this is how you slay resistance. The ACC turns on when you're aware, which turns on the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And when that thing is awake, resistance just dies. You can think about it like acid. It's like it just puts a blanket of acid on resistance and it just fizzles away because you're engaging the part of your brain that's made for work. Resistance stops you from accessing it, but all you have to do to access it is bring awareness to it. So you need to get into this daisy chain of just identifying the problem, bringing your awareness to it, and then immediately executing on a system that you've hopefully already thought about in your free time. And I know you will. If you have this trait, you probably just walk around and have ideas constantly. Execute on building that thing. Build the machine that does it for you. And obviously you're still going to have to work, but the machine can take you as an input where you're kind of in la la land and you still get it done. That's your goal. And it's not that hard. It's literally like a checklist and some M&Ms. Like, that's how easy it can be. Maybe like a simple XP system where it's like 0 out of 1. And then you do that and you upgrade it to 0 out of 2. And then you find out, oh, I can actually do 40 math problems a day before I feel tired. And then you just make one big reward at 35. When you build a system, it's like building a building. When you build something, it just stays there until something knocks it down. And many people with ADHD say, oh, I've tried systems, I've built things, it didn't work. That just means it wasn't good enough yet. And it doesn't mean it's over. You can just try again, tweak it, change it, play with it. I guarantee that if you just keep doing this, and like, what thing is built once? Like, when you're building a house, you make mistakes and you have to change and like edit and alternate, and the plans change. That's normal. It comes through iteration. You build a minimum viable product, and that's how you start. And then from there, you make improvements. Think about it like development. It's like you have stable versions, and then you have beta versions where you're like testing out and experimenting and collecting data. And then you release the next stable version, and then you leave that there for a while and you focus on something else. But you can solve every problem in your life this way. And that's the last little bonus here, is quit trying to do new things, because you cannot ascend the mountain without first breaking all your chains. You are chained to the ground by problems. You need to solve the problems before you can go up. That's the reason you're not getting anywhere, is you're trying so hard to go up that you're not solving any of your problems that are keeping you down. I want you to make a decision right now that if you get distracted, you are always going to come back to this problem eventually. If I have problems that I need to break and I need systems that work better than my brain, better than neurotypical brains, and I have to make them. And the way I make them is by engaging my ACC, by becoming more aware, more mindful, meditating, which again, you don't need to meditate. It just helps a lot in the long run. But if you keep doing this, if you keep spamming this, no matter how many times you get lost, if you always come back to this and you build your blessed machine that solves your problems and manages your life for you, that respects your ADHD and covers for its weaknesses, and creates consistency in the things that you know you should be doing to reach the goals that you have, then it doesn't matter how fragmented and scattered your focus is. It doesn't matter how addicted to learning you are and how many rabbit holes you go down. As long as you keep coming back to this, it will eventually get done, or you will eventually have enough of a minimum viable product that you start to see results. And when that happens, you will unlock your gifted potential. The high-level version of this is you have something that keeps you consistent in the few things that you choose, Remember, you need a subtractive mindset, not an additive mindset. In fact, you need to be more okay with missing out on value. That is how you get more out of life, is by being more okay with missing things and by sacrificing other things for other things. It's or, not and. You can do one or the other, not both. And if you want to do both, you have to jig, which is basically focusing intensely on one for a while and then focusing intensely on the other for a while, which to create this focus, you need the blessed machine. Or alternatively, part of the blessed machine is, now that you know about this ACC and is now that you know about this alarm bell in your head, you can keep spamming it, and that will wake your CEO up and he can get things done in short bursts. And if you meditate and you keep spamming this, you will build a stronger muscle of waking this guy up, which will overcompensate for the fact that your default mode network will always come back and possess you. So you bring these two things together, the blessed machine and the alarm bell that wakes up your CEO, which is just awareness. And it also slays resistance. So like if you get one thing out of this video, it's you need to optimize your life for awareness. If you do not do that, you will not reach your goals. Which you may think is a bold claim because you're probably gifted. You think, oh, I'm pretty smart, I get it. No, you can't, because you're all over the damn place. And you always will be. Like, there's no amount of effort is going to stop it. So you have to build the reactor that channels it and offload as much as you can to other people and other things that do this stuff better than you. You have incredible strength and talent. You also have incredible weaknesses. You are basically optimized for leadership and building. And some gifted people, the thing they're gifted at is socializing, rallying people and getting people to like them. For some people, that's the part of their brain that is gifted, like densely neuron packed. And so for you, instead of like focusing more on building the system, it may be more on focusing on making other people build the system for you, or like channeling the energy and power of a group of people into doing things that you want, which doesn't have to be manipulative. It can be a good thing for everybody. Before I end off this video, one last thing that I thought was really helpful that I want to give you, and it sort of maps out this whole thing, and I should have said it earlier, but default mode network is this loop. You want to spam this loop where as you're just going about your day and your default mode network is taking over and you're thinking and wandering around mindlessly, aimlessly in your mind, focus on the problem, or keep bringing it back to a problem. Keep bringing it back to how you're going to build your blessed machine. Then use awareness to engage your ACC, wake up your cortex, and that's your strategist. He's good at cutting off all the options and clearing out all the noise and picking one thing that's going to work. That's what it's good at. Then you hand this off to your executor, and your executor actually builds the thing. You've given him the blueprint, he just builds it. And then you will inevitably wander off and get back into problem solver mode again. And then you just keep spamming this loop. And if it didn't get finished all the way over here, guess what? You can keep spamming this loop and just build it in iterations. Or if you got distracted for like a month, you can come back and keep building it in iterations. Just keep spamming this loop, and the key is awareness. You need to just constantly bring awareness to your problems. Awareness will solve almost all of your problems, even the problems that you don't know, because you have to be aware that you don't know what the problem is in order to solve and figure out what the problem is. Like if you don't know what to Google, you're going to be stressed out. And the way that you realize I don't know what to Google is you have to bring awareness to the problem. You have to break out of your default mode network for just a split second in this key critical moment to realize, oh, this is the next step. You need to engage the CEO to figure that out. And so you could say it's more about picking when to be aware. That's important for your playstyle. Now, meditation will boost all of this, like across the board. It like raises the water, which will make you more balanced. For some of you, maybe this is the first thing you want to add to your blessed machine is a meditation routine. Which my suggestion at first is just keep spamming it for 5 minutes. Like whenever you remember. Like that can be the system. It's when you remember, just immediately bring awareness to it to slay the resistance and act on it. And if you do it for 5 minutes every day, and then you start to do it for 5 minutes 3 times a day, or maybe you tied it to certain times, then the principle of momentum will take over and you'll hit the criticality point and your ADHD will take over and you'll suddenly have an addiction to meditation and you'll just be doing it all the time because you love it. And you can build a system that ensures that you meditate at specific times, or that if you don't meditate at specific times, you always come back to it because it's easy and there's a reward for it. Maybe it's fast food. If you meditate, you go get to have fast food, even if it's unproductive, just sitting down to do it. You sit there for 40 minutes, observe your thoughts, and then go get to have fast food. I know that was a lot, but I hope this helped you. If you think that this is helpful, go ahead, hit like and subscribe so that this gets pushed to more people. Share it with somebody who you think maybe has this ADHD and gifted combo that's like screwing up their life, and let's get this out to more people. Because I don't know about you, but I'm suffering. That may be TMI, but I'm suffering. Like this stuff sometimes feels like a living nightmare, like having all these ideas and being unable to act on them. And I'm building my blessed machine, and I'm probably more locked in than most people, and it still feels like it's not enough. I have to overcompensate so hard. So I want you to know that's normal, but if you care enough, you'll do it. And if you subscribe to my channel, I'll release things that work for me as I'm working on them. Thank you so much for watching till the end of the video. That is actually the most important stat for the algorithm. So thank you very much.